Well, that was not what we expected here tonight. I guess that was really ugly, gonna admit. Welcome into the Third Line Jawn Postgame Show. I'm your host, James Scorza, with you, and with me, as always, is a group as my companion and my brother from the past and have sports show, Joey Marks on this night. Joey, how you doing on this night, my friend?
You know what you get when you put a jet inside a barn? A fire. That's what the Jets did to the barn tonight. They set it ablaze.
Yep. Yes, they did, Joe. Yes, they did. It was a well, if you probably didn't see the game, you probably
You
were
didn't miss
you
much.
didn't miss much. That's exactly right. I always say that all the time too, buddy. I say that all the time too. If you didn't see this game, you didn't see much. You didn't miss much. So yeah, the Flyers lose tonight 4-1 against the Winnipeg Jets in South Philadelphia. But let's dive into this and let's rip the band-aid off before I have another ulcer or ulcer colitis or some other crazy stuff like that. But this it continues to feel like the Flyers are playing a little bit sloppy in these last few games, going back to last week against the Penguins in that second period. But man, I mean, this was really an ugly game, gonna admit, Joe.
You know, if I have to compare this, and it's so weird. So I watched the game on Saturday,
Mm-hmm.
and I expected that game on Saturday to be like tonight's game. Like
Right.
I expected to sit back and watch a blowout. Like I didn't know how else to put it. I'm
Yeah.
like, sit back. Here comes Winnipeg. Like there's no they're got two players in the top 10 in goal scoring.
Yep.
I mean, that ought to tell you everything you need to know about how good this team is offensively with
Yep.
Winnipeg. But
Right.
then for the Flyers on Friday on Saturday, I mean, to hold them to one goal, take them to the shootout and beat them. I was just like
Mm-hmm.
in Winnipeg. I was like, what? I mean,
Yeah.
I was astounded, and this is where I kind of put it on Tortorella. Okay,
Right. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
you put you put Erison in instead of
No
Fedotov.
tough. Right.
Now look, I am not the biggest Fedotov fan. You and I both know this.
Yep.
I've called him an AHL starting goaltender, but for whatever reason,
Mm-hmm.
he filled enough of the net against those guys in Winnipeg that it frustrated them. Why not just ride the hot hand? You got nothing to lose. They're the best team in the NHL. You're not meant to beat them 2 times in a row. But
Mm-hmm.
at least if you put that kid back in the net, you give that kid a chance to build on that.
Yep. Yep.
Instead, you put Erison in, and I don't know if Erison could keep up with them. And I don't think, and I think to just kind of even itch in, put more of a bullet point on this. I don't feel like the Flyers came out with enough energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. We got a comment here. My dad, Joe Scorza, checks in and says, the Flyers pretty much gave a shutout tonight to Eric Comrie, and I think that was
Mm.
basically about that too. And also, Pavel checks in. He's also a part of our Flyers post-game coverage here. He says that I'm hoping Harrison gets traded by tomorrow by 4 p.m. I mean, yeah,
You know what? I kind of hope so too. I I
yeah.
I I
I
I,
mean,
I don't mean that in a
what's more you can say?
I don't mean that in a disrespectful way.
No,
I
I
mean
know.
that in a way like, let him go and do what he's got. He's a backup goaltender. So,
Yes.
okay, let him be a good backup goaltender somewhere else where he can survive and thrive.
Yeah. And then, like we always talk about here on this pod, obviously, like I said in the topic sheet here, this was a sloppy first period by the Orange and Black, and it's been like that the last couple games. Like you think about what happened on Tuesday night when they took on Calgary and they had a 3-0 lead. They gave up 3 goals in a matter of 3 shots, and that was on Urson more precisely than anything like that. And looks to me, I mean, but there's another topic that we can talk about here that, yeah, this is a big story, but
And
that Urson
and this
giving up,
is and this is the Jekyll and Hyde, James,
yeah,
to chime in on this. We
yeah,
talk about Fedotov, we talk about Erison, we talk about the Flyers and getting good shots on goal and like staying aggressive, right?
mm-hmm,
On Saturday, they had 10-2 to the Winnipeg Jets in the first period. They came out shooting the puck. And I
yep,
was like, well, okay, that's fine. I was like, okay, but despite them shooting the puck, Winnipeg still got the first goal. I'm like, okay, but they're skillful. That I understand.
Yeah, that's gonna happen. Yeah.
But like, here's my point of view: is if you are out shooting a skillful team,
Hmm.
you're spending more time in their offensive zone. That means that's less time, just by math. That's less time they're spending in your offensive zone, which
Right.
ultimately your goaltender, no matter how good bad they are,
Yep.
doesn't have to face as many shots.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Pavel checks it again and says, "Send him to the Oilers." LOL. Yeah. I mean, hey, I'll take Stuart Skinner. I'll take anybody from that Oilers team. I mean, they won it. They were in the Stanley Cup final last year. I mean, screw it, right?
I love how James goes. You throw a team out there, and James already has someone on his shopping list for that team. You can name the LA Kings. Yeah, I'll take that guy. Like, hey,
Yeah. Oh
I just
yeah. Oh
mentioned
yeah.
the team. James has got one dude for each team he will pick.
It's like a fantasy hockey draft. Nate checks in. I haven't seen him in a while. How you been, Nate? All Poe as well with you, but he's been also been skeptical about how Torch has been playing. He says enough of Torch is enough. Not consistent. Don't see a young team. It's his third year. Enough is enough.
Again, it goes back to another thing. Okay, so they're down 2-0, right? That's
Yep.
one thing. But then at that point, that's when I say, okay, Emerson doesn't have it
Hmm.
tonight. He just doesn't have it tonight.
Right.
And I would have pulled him.
Yep.
Because I've seen enough after that first period.
Oh
And
yeah.
I
Me
think
too.
all of us did. Yeah. Because I honestly felt like that third period. Now, disagree with me if you think I'm wrong, because
Hmm.
I only heard the commentary. You saw the play.
Yeah.
It felt like Winnipeg just kind of like took a knee, like went into victory formation in the
Yeah.
third period. Like they just,
Chew
iced.
clock.
Yeah, they just chewed clock.
Yep.
They weren't trying to score another goal. They were just trying to get the win.
Yeah, and Pavel checks it and says again, best team in the league. I expected this tonight, but how they lost was a few games ago. I guess it was against Calgary, like too, because we had the post game show. Me and Pavel did the
Yeah.
post game show that night, and that was an ugly game too. But Nate checks it again and says they need a new direction, new coach. That's it. Yeah, this is the other storyline I was telling you about too with Sam Mercer giving up 8 goals in 2 games. It's man, I mean that's like that doesn't like I mean especially when a team that was fully rested after the 2 week hiatus of the Four Nations faceoff, I would have thought, okay, this is where they're gonna find a way to get back on track. And unfortunately, I mean that 2 week off was like felt like it just like felt like they are even more tired than they are, Joe.
Like I said, when this team came out tonight,
Mm-hmm.
it just seemed flat. And the thing that they got 2 back-to-back games, despite
Yeah.
being at home this weekend, and they got it against 2 good teams, like,
Oh yeah.
in the Kraken and the Devils. Like, that's not like a snooze fest. Like, you cannot just sleepwalk through those teams.
No. No.
And that's really what worries me, is that this team looks like, at least from my standpoint right now, and I'm rooting for them to try and make that last playoff spot. We had Mike Laurel on our show last week, and he's confident that they're going to make the playoffs. Understand something.
Mm.
Uh I just think
It's gonna be a long road to climb, man.
I think this team's gonna slip. And I think they're slipping now. And I
Yeah.
think it's to a point where they can't grip their the treads to get back up on that climb that mountain. And look, it's no fault of their own. They are still in rebuild mode, but I would like to now see by tomorrow some more either young pieces coming in or more picks to be picked up.
Right. Yeah, and Nate checks it and says that it's a style play. They gave up great A scoring chances in this game tonight too, and that's
You know, I'm
you
gonna
know
ask I'm gonna ask Nate a question. I don't always do this, but I'm gonna
sure,
ask
sure,
Nate a question.
sure.
So Nate, I want to know from you. Give me your top 2 coaching candidates. that you would replace John Tortorella with?
Hmm.
Because right now, I'm with you, Nate. I'm with you, but I want to be
Hmm.
with you with your candidates too. I want to be with you.
Yeah. Since we got some time here, obviously, let me just go back to my point about what happened with Sam Ersson here tonight, and I think I'm just so I'm not annoyed about it. I'm kind of embarrassed about it because you think about what happened in the Four Nations face-off, and he looked very, very well in that 2-week hiatus.
Mhm.
And I'm thinking, okay, they finally found their footing. And tonight, it just looks like the last two games, he just looks like he's just like he
Falling
looks like
apart.
he's either tired or exhausted, or he's just like that. It's just like he's like mentally drained. I don't know what it is, but here's some choices that Nate brought up: Joe Quenneville, Bruce Boudreau, and Gallant. Gallant. I know who that is too. Is it Jawn Gallant? Jawn Gallant, Nate. If I'm not mistaken. So he says I actually Quenneville is a good piece to have. Obviously, he has a Stanley Cup winner.
Yeah,
Bruce Boudreau has a good track record too. Also,
Boudreaux kind of jumps out at me, honestly.
yeah,
He kind
uh,
of jumps out at me.
yeah.
He's a very um
Oh,
eh,
Gerard
Gerard. Yeah.
Gallant. Oh, okay, I got you.
Eh,
Okay,
but I don't know, like those all seem like really good gettable coaches. And look,
yeah,
I think honestly, I got nothing against Torts other than it feels like he's stuck in his ways.
yeah.
And
It's just like,
sometimes when you're stuck in your ways as a coach, you're not
mhm,
willing to change. When you're not willing to change, you're not willing to advance this team forward, which is what we need to start to do.
yes, yeah. I
This
agree.
year, this year's a good step in that rebuild, but in order for this team to take the next 2 or 3 steps in the rebuild, we have to see the progressions of a Mitchkov. We got to see
Hmm.
the progressions of an Owen Tippett, a Forrester,
Sure.
a Nolan Cates. We have to see those. And
Hmm.
if Torts can't get dragged that potential out of them, he's got. And I mean, I don't think he has. I just don't.
Yeah,
Not to the full measure. I mean, Mitchkov is an astounding player, and I just heard like a stat. He's 2 points away from Simone Gagne's rookie point record.
yeah.
So
I
that's
think tonight he timed Gossesbear with
yeah.
rookies. I think it's like 46 now. He's got now. That
The amazing record for rookies. I asked you this before. I asked you about goals, but this was points.
yeah,
The rookie record is Michael Remberg with
yeah,
84
yeah.
back in the 90s. I was like, good grief, 84. I was like,
Wow,
wow,
that's impressive.
that is very impressive for a rookie.
Yeah,
So, but
uh,
that's what a coach needs to do. They need to bring out the best out of these players.
yeah. Nate checks in and says Michkov is going to be a superstar. I agree.
Absolutely.
He's going to be a star in the making. I think he's going to be
Yes.
another. I said it. Like, he reminds me of Sergei Fedorov or Pavel Datsuk in his prime. I mean, they're both Russian snipers, so I guess
Yeah.
if you're gonna get one of them, that'll be a good instinct too. But yeah, he says Nate says he's playing with Lindros too, and that's also with Renberg too, like you alluded to. So yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah,
mean, so but this is the thing is when it comes down to Erison, when it comes down to like the other perspectives of the coaching and torts,
mm-hmm,
we have to kind of keep it where we look at the long game. We
mm-hmm,
look at the long picture. That this isn't just about this season, it's about the next 2 seasons.
right,
Because if my feeling is if this team can't make the playoffs in 2 seasons,
mm-hmm.
there's going to be a lot of people starting to question this process.
Yeah, it's gonna kind of remind me of the other team that's played in the same arena.
Shall not be names kind
Shall
of
not be
thing.
named. Yeah, basically
Yeah.
gave an offer that basically we gave an offer that we cannot refuse without saying the
Yes.
words.
Yeah, seriously.
So Nate checks this is a great show, guys. Thanks for chiming in, buddy. We
Yes.
really do appreciate it, man.
Thanks for the suggestions. We'll keep an eye on those coaches.
Yeah, we'll keep a close eye on those coaches. If we are looking for coaches and all that, but
And it's just
man,
while we're talking about coaches, I'm just going to throw this out because you haven't yet done it. The
yeah,
guy who's the head coach that you're always talking about from the Chicago Wolves. Like,
yeah,
we understand.
yeah. I'm not gonna kid you, man. Um, I was kind of my radio my actually my pregame show rather. It was kind of like a Kevin Shaw day off day. It was like because the thing about it because the thing I was trying to say was is that what the Flyers need to do is like you see how like Winnipeg is nowadays. It's like
Right.
you have to have that same kind of wheels of motion with the team
Yep.
right now. That's what I was saying a couple of years ago. If he was a candidate and it was like if he was out there and also if he was going to be a candidate, if God forbid he got canned, I said, you know what? Hey, look, I mean, but I think the Flyers said, okay, Chuck Fletcher was a fail. All the whole 9 yards about that. And I'm thinking, okay,
Yeah.
maybe another outsider is like, yeah, been there, done that. So we got to bring back another Flyer in the organization, which, by the way, happens. It's been happening for like 45 or 55, 50
Yeah.
plus years, going back to Bobby Clark and even Paul Holmgren too. So, yeah, I mean, but like I said, this was a game that I actually said that this was a game that Winnipeg would have a chip on their shoulder here tonight.
Yeah.
I really thought that this game was one of the games. I mean, you think about the game they had a couple nights ago against the Islanders. They actually lost that game in 3-2 up in Long Island. And I said to myself, man, Winnipeg's going to come in here absolutely pissed off. And it felt like it was the same kind of thing here tonight for them too, Joe.
They had something to prove.
Yeah.
They absolutely had something to prove. They lost 2 straight, one to us and then Long Island. They were definitely not coming into Philly to lay down. They were
Right.
coming into Philly to get back on the horse because look, there's not just this perspective of proving that they're the best team in the NHL regular season wise.
Mm-hmm.
But they missed out on getting to, that Stanley Cup that's eluded them.
Mm-hmm.
And so for them, it's about staying pace. And I'll
Right.
tell you this right now. We don't get to see many Winnipeg games, but
Right.
I could tell you this. That team is very dangerous because of the
Really
way that
dangerous.
their offense plays, their power play is so powerful, and the way their offense plays, and then having Hellbuck back there behind in the net,
Oh, yeah.
that's just, I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah.
It reminds me a little bit of the '90s Colorado Avalanche
Right. Right.
when they had the Sackett, Forsberg line, and like
Yep.
the Adam Foote and
Oh, yeah. Adam Foote was great.
like those kind of guys, and then they had Patrick Waugh back in net. Like it reminds me a lot of that team. And
Well,
so
yeah, go.
that's what makes it interesting to me.
You know, I'm going to steal something from Shaladeoff's old teams when he was with the Wolves and all that. So this was like, I guess it was 2000, 2002, around the Calder Cup years. I mean, they had Steve Molte and they had like Nathan Oystrick, like you mentioned, like like Adam Foote of the world, and even more so like that. So, I mean, to me, I've seen this before because I learned about the history about the Wolves and all that, even when they took on the Phantoms the first, like in 2005, obviously. But yeah, this team is just so good. I mean, they're just like you said, Joe. They're really dangerous. Pavel checks in again and says, "I don't understand why Fedotov isn't playing, especially tonight against the Jets, and how Urson played against Calgary." Yeah, I mean that's what I was
Right.
kind of confused about
It,
too.
it's what I said earlier, yeah. And the fact that, I'm not the biggest fan of Fedotov, the fact that he mystified the Jets in
Mm-hmm.
Winnipeg,
Yep.
that would have been enough for me. That would have been, look, what do you have to lose? Again, what do you have to lose putting that kid in there to, at the very least, get experience?
Mm-hmm.
If he puts up the same kind of game he did in Winnipeg, guess what? You might beat him again. Like,
Yep.
you don't know how the puck's going to land. But
Mm-hmm.
that's where I blame Tortorella, because that was mistake number 1 to me.
Yeah.
Mistake number 2 was keeping Erison in as long as he did.
Mm-hmm.
After that first period, I had seen enough. He should have seen enough. He should have pulled Erison.
Yeah, I agree. And also, Nate checks in and says Fedotov has a worse, save percentage in the league than I guess Urson. But yeah, I mean, but the thing about with Fedotov too, like you alluded to, is that
Well, Nate's right, but here's the problem. This is where I'll push back on Nate. Erison's got more games played. So as you play more
that's the other thing
games,
I was going to say too.
that percentage is skewed.
Mm-hmm.
Totov hasn't gotten as many opportunities, but some of the opportunities he's gotten, especially against really good teams, he hasn't looked like like he's had his bad games. Don't get me wrong, but
Yes.
he's also had some pretty good games too,
Mm-hmm.
surprisingly enough.
Yeah.
And you're just still not. You're still trying to figure out what type of goalie he's going to be. He is going to be. I have him as an AHL starter. That's my caliber. I have him in until I see something that changes my mind.
Right.
But look, he only let up one goal
Mm-hmm.
against the Jets in Winnipeg, which they rarely lose in Winnipeg to begin with.
They have a good track
So
record in Winnipeg too.
yeah, and so
Going
like
back to when they first came back from the expansion years, like the
yes,
first years of the expansion year. Yep.
that's the other part of this is that I would have just rode the hot hand.
Mm-hmm.
And I get the whole analytics, and you go with Harrison, but if Harrison coming off getting shelled against Calgary, which is a much worse team than Winnipeg, then no. I go with the guy that I feel like has a sliver of a chance against that mystified the Jets in Winnipeg.
Yeah, right. Like that's the thing I take out of it too. And Nate checks in and says, imagine we don't have a starter, but imagine if we did have a starter. Yeah. I mean, you think about it, I mean, it's hard to believe the last handful of years with the Flyers. I just remember tonight, they showed a montage of Scott Lawton scoring his first NHL goal. And I'd see Braden Coburn, and I was like thinking, wait a minute, I didn't even know Braden Coburn was still on that team. But that's another joke that's another thing. That's how long this team has been irrelevant for so long.
Yep.
Like because it feels like with the Flyers, I mean, those 10 years, like this is kind of, I guess you can call it like the Sixers a little bit if you think about it, because they have been really nothing short of disappointment. But the difference is they had really bad GMs, they had bad coaches and all this and all that. And it's going to take a long time for this team to get back to where they were in 2010. I'm not saying that this year is not going to be any different, but it's going to take a long time for the team to finally get back to where they were, like they were in that 2010, 2012 echelon, Joe.
The Flyers and the Sixers are in a Bermuda Triangle, but
They
the
are.
difference between the two teams is that the expectations for the Sixers should have been that they should have been able to sail out of the Bermuda Triangle with no problems.
Mm-hmm.
We knew that the Flyers would be stuck in that triangle for a while, and we understood that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, all the setbacks that we've had, and look, there's still going to be setbacks. So for everyone, that thinks that this is just, it's time to despair everything that's already we've built so far. No, but
Right.
it's time to take apart some of the pieces that don't make sense, like a Scott Lawton, like a
Sure.
John Tortorella, like a
Sure.
Sam Harrison, like those kind of guys. We have to make sure that we can take those, because who knows? I mean, we have pieces in the minors that I'm sure are aching to get their opportunities,
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to get them in the next month and a half. And tomorrow will be the deciding factor of how many of them will have that opportunity.
Yeah.
If there's just draft for player to player, or if it's draft player to pick.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the other thing too is that it's going to be interesting to see what they look like in the trade deadline tomorrow, because I said I don't know who's going to be too, but
Yeah.
like Nate checks in again and says 2010 team was the last place team until Laviolette arrived. Yeah, right. That was actually John Stevens too. I totally forgot about that too.
Yep.
And before, so I mean, and then you think about it too with the Flyers too, is that they got in the last game of the season, and right after that they just clicked. It's kind of like the Phillies of 2022 and all that too. But let's get into our grades before we get out of here. Obviously, there's no MVPs tonight, unless you have somebody in particular. But
Nope.
but let's get into our grades.
My MVP is the fact that I was able to turn
the game was over.
Yeah,
the game.
that's the MVP.
The game was over. Yeah,
Yeah.
That game was over. Right. Yeah. Let's keep it real, Joe. It's another one of those portions that we called an epic fail here tonight, and I think it's
From
fair
the
to
top,
say
from the top to the bottom.
Starting from the
top.
bottom, and now we're here. Yep.
Yep. Well, it goes from John Tortorella and the mistakes that he made from pregame to the gameplay itself, to the lack of adjustments during the game. It just from top to bottom,
Mm-hmm.
that game was an epic fail.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you can make all the excuses all you want that Winnipeg's a great team. No argument there.
No question.
But you have to play up to the level and the standard you believe you could play at.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't look like they could even lace Winnipeg's skates. Like, that's the way they played tonight. And that's why they get an epic fail from me, for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of like what Jason Kelsey would say. It's the whole team. The whole team failed tonight. So,
the whole team failed.
Yeah,
yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, and even my dad, Joe, scores it, checks it. It says grade F across the board. Yep, this was an automatic failure, or something. Just an automatic failure, I guess. They just failed the course, and now they have to redo it all over again.
You know what? And I'm going to even jump to this.
And also, Pat checks in and says Gritty's the MVP too. So I haven't seen Gritty in a while, but that's another story.
They're giving a Gritty rubber duck away.
Dude, when I heard that, Jim Jackson was like a rubber ducky. Like I was waiting for him to tell him you gotta be effing kidding me.
No. I gotta say this.
That was too funny, man.
I won't do it to my daughter. I won't. But I won't do it to my daughter. But you know when that rubber duck night is?
When?
Against Ottawa. Against Claude Giroux.
Oh my God.
I would just be like, where is he? Where is he? Where is he? And I would just wait the duck out.
Just
okay.
Oh my God.
You don't want to arm people with weapons when Claude Giroux comes back to the town.
Throw rubber duckies at him.
Hey, Claude. Quack, quack. But
yeah. Oh my God.
I wanted to say this.
I didn't even know that. I didn't know that.
I want to say this. That this team played so bad tonight that.
Oh yeah.
And I never say this, but I'm going to say this now because of how poor this was from beginning to end. They shouldn't have even showed up to the rink.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have. I mean, if you're just going to
showed our youth today.
Then just lay down. I mean, if you don't want to come to work, there's the door.
Yeah, they showed our youth today. That's how I look at it too. And he also says coaching matters, guys, and also giving a tribute to Claude Giroux. I guess he was a big Claude Giroux fan too. Look, I mean, I thought he was good for the first times when he was a Flyer, obviously, but then he started to
rest on his laurels. Rest on his laurels.
Rest on his laurels. Exactly right. He
got that C, and that C weighted him down.
Yep, happened with Mike Richards. I mean, I wouldn't say it happened with Mike Richards, but it happened with a couple other players. But we don't have to go into any further.
Oh, did you hear? You bring up Mike Richards. Did you hear what? It was the ESPN Plus game.
No,
the one commentator was comping Matvei Michkov to Mike Richards.
Seriously?
Hey.
Okay.
And on that note, let's look around the NHL.
Yeah, and now let's get around the national. And now it's Cecily with the weather. Oh God. Okay. That's a little hard. That's a little bit of a big phrase.
I'm gonna let you chew on that.
Yeah, dude. I mean, that's a little too soon. What do you think? I mean, I would understand Danny Briere, but Mike Richards. Richards. I mean, come. Okay. All right. Let's get into the around the National Hockey League before I figure out what Mike Richards and if they have the same first names, I mean that's excellent, but still, he said, "No, are you kidding me?" Like Mike Richards. Oh God, dude. Oh my God, that's why they're so bad.
It's a horrible comp. It is.
Yeah. Yes. It's awful. It's really awful. All right, let's get into our around the National Hockey League before I blow a gasket here. So a couple games going on. Our finals right now here tonight on this Thursday night of NHL. Sorry, I lost myself in the green screen. Lightning winning tonight 6-5 over the Sabres. Like we mentioned, Flyers lose tonight 4-1 over Winnipeg. Panthers winning again, a shutout, winning 3-0 over Columbus. So that's good to know. Columbus wins tonight. Columbus lost tonight, so it'd be a little bit of a positive. The Flyers want to try to make a postseason push. Utah wins tonight 4-2 over Detroit. Carolina wins 3-2 over Boston. Dallas right now 2-1 over the Stars. I guess that's at the end of the second period. Seattle, I guess they're going to come in with a chip on their shoulder again on Saturday because they lost tonight to Nashville. No, I'm sorry. That game is still going on right now. 4-1 Nashville over Seattle. Montreal and Edmonton tied up at 1. And the Sharks taking on the Avalanche. That's starting right about now. So, and there's a couple games going on right now, going on tomorrow night. And, man, there's a lot of crazy games going on this Friday night. All right, so we got the Capitals and the great A Chase. That they take on the Detroit Red Wings. Winnipeg taking on New Jersey. Utah taking on Chicago. Penguins taking on the Golden Knights. Blues taking on the Ducks. And to close out the night, it will be the Wild taking on the Canucks.
About that Kraken thing. They're losing currently to the Predators. And the Predators are not having a great season.
No, that's a big surprise to me too.
If they lose to the Predators, you can bet your bottom dollar they're going to come in here looking to wipe the ice with the Flyers.
Oh hell yeah! I agree.
It's going to be the Flyers are going to have to bounce back quickly.
Yes. And the last thing we'll go here. Mitch Covey says Nate checks in against us. Kind of reminds me of either actually Pavel Bure. I want to think Valerie Bure, but Pavel Bure. That's a good.
Yeah, that's a really good comp.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
I was a big Bure guy.
Yeah.
I would go one step closer. I mean, I said like Doc Suk or Sergei Fedorov or maybe Slava Kozlov or something like that. But man, Bure was a very good player. I actually didn't see much of his highlights like when I was younger, but man, he had a lot of speed. He had speed like stronger than like I said, stronger than Burr. Like, you know what I mean? Like, stronger like Burr.
Pavel was an interesting player because of his size, speed, and his stick handling was wicked. I mean, the guy could go from shoulder to shoulder and just make you look dizzy. Looking at his stick handling.
Yeah. I mean, he was a really, really good player.
Yes.
He was a really good player. All right, that's going to wrap up our portion of this pod. No, excuse me. Sorry about that. All right, that's going to wrap up our show here tonight for this post-game show. Want to thank Joey Marks once again here tonight. And before we go, he says my dad, Joe Scorza, says the Flyers better buckle up before the Kraken on Saturday. Yeah, release the Kraken, right? And then you got the Devils the next day on that Sunday afternoon too. So 2 for the price of 1.
You get Joshua Harris in the building.
Wonderful. Yeah,
that's
beautiful.
Fantastic.
Jesus. And then you got the Kraken coming in hot, like looking for revenge. Like Winnipeg was.
So you got 2 good Flyers connections. You got Dave Hackstall with the Kraken and Holmgren with the Kraken, and then you have Joshua Harris with the Devils. So have a good weekend, Philly.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I think Hackstall got canned like around a year ago. But I think it's Dan Bosma.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh wow.
Yeah, okay. I think Bosma is Hackstall is like, I think Hackstall is like swimming with the fishes now.
Oh, maybe we'll bring him back.
Looks good on us though. Yeah, right. Looks good on us though, right?
Yeah, seriously.
Yeesh. All right, that's going to wrap up our show here tonight. Like I said, I want to thank Joey Marks once again joining me here tonight for this very important pod. Now, for everyone behind the scenes and for everyone that made it work here for myself and Joey, Pat got you covered for a couple of the post games on Saturday and Sunday. We'll be back very, very soon. We will be back on our sister station, Hardcore Sports Network, for the Patterson Ave Sports Show, and I'll be back for the pregame show on Saturday. Yeah, that's right, Saturday and Sunday. Now for everyone, like I said, now for Joey Marks and for myself, James Scorza here, this has been the Third Line Jawn Flyers post-game show saying and for everybody tuning in, thanks for watching, everybody. Until then, stay positive, everybody, and until then, we'll catch you guys on the other side.